All right.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good. So thanks for meeting up.
No
My name is
problem.
Henry, and I'm the role of Dr. B, the chair of the department.
Yeah, my name is Rohit and I'm Dr. A.
Great. Now that you have had some opportunity to kind of think over everything, the reason why we're meeting up again is, there's a very important hospital multidisciplinary committee that's being formed, and there's a very exciting opportunity, for you to, exercise your leadership skills by being a chair of this committee. It's a fairly obviously important position, and we want to be able to support you in your endeavors. So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts now that you have had some time to think about it, kind of see how we can help you out.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you're offering me this position. It's good to be known that this kind of position you'll be offered and you'll be thought of. So thank you. I appreciate that. Um,
Sure.
I do want to accept the position, but however, I do want to request a couple of things. And that
Okay.
because I want to do the right thing with the position, I think it's a lot of responsibility, and I just want to make sure I continue the good work I've done in the past. And similarly, I make all the goals achieved in this position as well.
Sure.
So I was wondering, is it possible? One, I know your offer said there was a deadline for 4 months. Is it possible to extend this to 6 months
The deadline for which
to
part?
basically complete the project within this committee work?
Oh, for the committee work, I
Mhm.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that ultimately how this committee will play out is going to be shaped in part by what the hospital wants. Obviously, they want something done sooner rather than later, so it wouldn't
Mhm.
be completely up to me to decide a timeline. I can be an advocate for you and talk to the hospital administration, in terms of, I guess, the overall circumstances and conditions in which you would chair the committee, and what sounds feasible or not. I think if um, that may have to do a little bit with how everything else comes together. If
Yeah,
there's a good reason to make it 4 months rather than six, because I think time is a of somewhat importance from the hospital side.
true. No, I understand, but again, I think from reading what is needed to be done, I think from my experience, I think it probably will take about 6 months, and I don't want to have disappointments later. Um,
Yeah,
so
I think we can take that into consideration.
okay,
It's not probably totally up to my ability to kind of just tell you. I'm sort of here as your advocate in the sense that I want the department to
yeah.
be successful, and you're representing us for the hospital. I think if you feel like there's a better job that could be accomplished in six and versus four, that's certainly something that we can discuss with the hospital administration. I mean, I guess
Thank
the
you.
bigger thing I want you to consider is sort of the rest of your responsibilities. Obviously you have lots of other clinical commitments and committee
Hmm.
commitments and responsibilities for doing work, and you've been very productive, and we don't want you to be spread too thin, but at the same time, obviously this sets a good example for the rest of the department in terms of you as an emerging leader.
Thank you. So, there are a couple things in that regard. One, as you know, I currently serve in two committees already, which hospital wanted me to. Um, is that if I decide to go forward with this committee, I think one of the things I will need is relief from the other one of the other committees. So from the two I'm serving, I would recommend if they can allow me to let go of one of those two committees.
Do
And I'm
you
okay with
have
either
an
one.
idea of how much time those things have
Um,
taken up?
they are taking up at least 3 0 FTE, so good amount of like 16 to 17 hours a week.
Okay. Yeah,
So
it's always a challenge in getting people to fulfill their to fulfill their commitments, for committee work and other things. I mean, I'm happy to work with you to
mhm,
kind of carve out the protected time you need for this. Although, you've worked with this department, you understand that it's there's two sides of being productive, right? People kind of count on you more to do things, and it's been hard to get someone else to be able to
sure.
pull the weight, so to speak.
Yeah,
Why
but
don't we find a way to, I guess, help you out with your research and your committee work and your ability to do this committee.
well, I
Um,
really want to continue my research for sure. The clinical workload, I would like to reduce to 0.10. I'm at 0.20 right now, if that's
uh,
possible. But the research work I want to continue. I don't do a lot, but there are grants coming up, which I'm working on right now. Um, so my plan was that to get relieved from one of the committees and get 0.10 FTE for clinical work and have an administrative staff. Like, right now we share administrative staff with all these duties. I think I'll need at least a person who's 0.50 FTE for my administrative staff, separate from the group's administrative staff. This person will just work for me half a day, half a week, basically 20 hours.
right.
So um, those are the first couple of things. I have more, but these are the first couple of things which I think will help me succeed in the role as a clinical preceptor, my productivity, and doing well with the committee I'm already on and this new committee. Um, I understand it's hard to find people, but we have to be fair with everyone. It's doing good work doesn't mean just keep getting more work, right? Um,
Well, unfortunately, sometimes it does.
then we
Yeah,
have to account for that because at some point it'll not, there's only so many things you can focus on.
right.
Um,
I don't want to dilute out your time too much. I think what we can do is think of this as a like, I guess, a combined effort to ask the hospital for more resources as opposed to being able to sort of give you any more from the department itself because we're a little bit spread out. What we can do is advocate for from the hospital side to give you more administrative support for this position, and then that will, hopefully make your job as the committee chair easier, and as well as give you, more support to be able to do that job. Um,
so just to make sure, I will only accept the position once we hear from the hospital. I won't be able to accept it without it.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable
Mhm.
to set sort of parameters, which what the things that are most valuable to you. I think if that's gonna come up with a list of things that are the most
Yeah.
important.
So there's a
I
last
think
one too, um, which is I believe there should be a performance bonus attached to this committee work. So at least like $10,000 at the end of 24-week completion. So if we agree on 6 months, it'll be 24 weeks. However, I think there should be a 3% bonus increase per week if we complete the work before 24 weeks with increase of max 15,000. And I think, given you've seen my work quality, you've seen how productive my other committees are, how productive I'm as a physician, I think this is something reasonable with a lot of tasks which I take upon, and the quality of care and everything which will improve with this committee. I think it's very reasonable demand.
um, I'll be completely transparent with you. I don't have any latitude within the department budget in order to pay you to do this job. I will give you advice as sort of your department chair that this will be considered obviously as part of your recognition in the hospital, as part of your promotion, you know, possibly in the future to a full professor from your current associate position. I don't have any like latitude from the hospital to associate a financial reward for doing this committee work. I don't know the precedent that we have in this hospital for doing this type of work. You know, I will give you informal advice for, you know, in terms of being a junior faculty, that it's a little bit of a balancing act, right? I mean, I think you want to do things that are visible. You want to do things that are, you know, obviously do a good job. But you know, I would be careful of probably laying out demands in which may or may not be, you know, doable. I think obviously if the product of this committee work leads to a financial improvement for the hospital, you know, it's easier to kind of negotiate for some reward at the end. Right now, we just don't have an existing mechanism for rewarding completion of this work, whether you do it on time or you do it in 6 months, you do it in four months. But again, I think, you know, let's think about what really is in your priority lists in terms of negotiating with the hospital, because that's kind of how I view it, right? You're not really negotiating with me. We're trying to formulate what the best way for you to do this job, if you do accept the job, as part of the representative for our department. But ultimately, you know, the bigger picture is you'll be able to interact with people in other departments in the hospital and have exposure that, you know, you ordinarily your colleagues don't have. So there is a little bit of a kind of a sweat capital that you're gaining as part of this endeavor.
True.
So yeah, I don't know how to correlate that with the money amount. If that's something that you want to
So
put down, you know, we can probably consider it.
Sure. No, I think it'll be good if you can, these 5 points, which are my priority, as I said, extending the deadline, relief from one of my current services, assigning administrative staff at least a half day, half FTE, doing 0.1 FTE for clinical workload, and the bonus structure we discussed. If you think you can advocate for that, discuss with the hospital, and then we can decide on what the hospital can agree on, and we can move forward.
Okay. I mean, I will try to pass along as many of those things as possible. Just be aware of the possible downside that you're not the only person being considered for this position. So, you know, if the demands are being seen as too, you know, overarching, then it may be that they would pass the job to someone else, you know, who would be eager to take on the responsibility without at least some of the financial components to it. I mean, the academic departments are very hard to negotiate money from, and I just don't have anything that's within my latitude to be able to, you know, give you extra money. I think it is easier to advocate for support, for administrative support, and maybe to cut down some of your other committee work by, you know, other departments, people taking over. But so I think those are kind of very doable items in terms of us working together to get the hospital to agree to. But the actual hard money part, I think, is going to be a little bit of a tough sell. So I think you have to be prepared whether you're going to be able to walk away from this or not. I'm just, you know, as a matter of advice.
You know, I do want to do this, and I think it's an important role in given the atmosphere in the, you know, hospital. I think that's fine. That's why my money was my last point. I understand if, you know, if you advocate for it and if you can get anything, I'll appreciate that. If you can't, that's okay. But other points, which I think if you can advocate, that'll be great.
Okay, yeah, I think this be a very good opportunity for you, and you know, I think you know, I'd be happy to go to bat for you and talk to the hospital and see what we can do.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.